I was 6 months pregnant with 2 IVF babies, a difficult journey due to my bicornuate uterus. During my prenatal checkup, the doctor suggested fetal reduction, but Marcus clasped my hand and gently refused. They are both our children, not one can be missing. I was utterly moved by his words then. It wasn't until late one night, when I went downstairs for water, that I overheard him in the living room, discussing a wager with his legal team. I'm betting on one Ethan, and one Marcus, don't worry. As long as one of them is Ethan's, I can ruin him completely. Marcus's voice was colder than I had ever heard it. As for me, I'll win 50 million. My head buzzed, and blood rushed to my temples. Were they betting on my children's DNA? Why was Marcus's arch-nemesis, Ethan, involved? I leaned against the cold wall, trembling uncontrollably. A voice, lowered but piercingly clear, reached my ears. Mr. Marcus, you're brilliant, keeping in the dark, making her believe both babies in her womb are yours. But in fact, neither of them are. Neither of them are mine. Those 4 words exploded in my mind. What did that mean? What did neither of them are mine signify? I froze in the shadows of the staircase, every hair on my body standing on end. The conversation in the living room continued, piecing together a complete and cruel truth for me. Mr. Marcus, how did you think of swapping the sperm? A young lawyer asked curiously. She has a bicornuate uterus, right? It was perfect. Marcus's voice was devoid of emotion. One of mine, one of Ethan's. The hospital was well taken care of. No one would ever suspect. That's ingenious. Someone flattered. All we have to do is wait for the children to be born and solidify the evidence of Grace's marital infidelity. Ethan's company's stock price will plummet because of this scandal, then Wells seized the opportunity to acquire it. It's simply perfect. I felt as though I had been plunged into an ice chamber. I was cold from head to toe. So that's how it was. All the hardship I had endured for over a year wasn't for the fruit of our love. It was for a meticulously planned business conspiracy. I was merely a tool. A reproductive tool used to frame Ethan and gain profit for him. Even the unique structure of my uterus had become the perfect link in his scheme. My deep affection, my hopes, my sacrifices, in their eyes, they were nothing but a joke. But Marcus, aren't you afraid Grace will find out? Her? Marcus sneered. She loves me to death. She believes everything I say. How could she possibly find out? He was right. How could I have found out? I loved him so much, trusted him so implicitly, to have a child for him. I endured over 1,000 fertility injections. My abdomen and buttocks were covered in purple needle marks during egg retrieval. I nearly fainted from the pain. He held my hand and whispered in my ear, Grace, just a little longer, for our children. I believed him. I truly believed him. I thought any suffering was worth it for our children. But I didn't know. The lives I nurtured with immense pain. One was a weapon he used to attack his rival. The other had no relation to him at all. Then whose child is the other one? I heard Daniel ask. Didn't we say during the initial wager? Marcus's voice was laced with a smile. Sin said she hoped for a boy. I'm betting on a boy and a girl, so the other one, naturally, belongs to the person she hoped for, Chloe, his assistant, Chloe, the woman who always sweetly called me Mrs. Grace. So, the 2 babies in my womb, one was Ethan's, Marcus's business rival, the other belonged to the person he and his assistant favored. Not a single one was Marcus's and mine. I managed a bitter smile. They had planned this enormous conspiracy right under my nose, and I, the most crucial pawn, had been kept completely in the dark. Like a fool, I happily stroked my belly every day, dreaming of our future as a family of 4. The laughter and chatter continued in the living room. They discussed Hayes' blueprint after Ethan's downfall. They talked about how to spend the 50 million wager. No one mentioned me, or rather, in their plans. I was no longer important. My role was simply to deliver these 2 pieces of evidence 10 months later, then, to be branded as having marital infidelity and thrown out. I clenched my fists tightly. My nails dug into my palms. A sharp sting. This pain brought a sliver of clarity to my chaotic mind. I couldn't just let this go. I couldn't let them succeed. Marcus, Chloe, and all those who aided and abetted his evil deeds. They all deserved to pay the price. Slowly, step by step, I retreated to my room. I closed the door, shutting out all the sounds from outside. I leaned against the door, my body sliding uncontrollably to the floor. I hugged myself, tears flowing silently, for my dead love, and for my ridiculous sacrifice. I sat on the cold floor for a long time. My legs grew numb, and my tears dried up. I pushed myself up against the wall and walked to the mirror. The woman in the mirror had a pale face and swollen eyes. My heavily pregnant belly seemed so ironic. Inside lived two children with whom I had no blood relation. Yet, I had nearly given my life for them. I reached out, gently caressing my stomach. The little ones inside seemed to sense my emotions. One kicked me softly, as if comforting me. My heart ached again. The children were innocent, but their existence was the root of my pain. I couldn't keep them. I couldn't let Marcus's conspiracy succeed. I opened my phone and, with trembling hands, searched for termination of pregnancy 6 months. Every word that popped up on the screen felt like a knife slicing through my heart. But I still clicked on a private hospital's consultation page. I booked an appointment for the procedure tomorrow morning. After doing all this, I felt completely drained of all strength. I collapsed onto the bed and pulled the blanket over my head. I thought I would be too tormented to sleep a wink, but I wasn't. I actually fell asleep. Perhaps I was too exhausted, perhaps. I had already made my decision. The next morning, I pretended as if nothing had happened, as usual. I greeted Marcus with a smile when he came downstairs. "Good morning, honey." He walked over, habitually touching my belly. "Are the babies behaving?" His hand was warm, his touch gentle. He was a completely different man from the cold one I heard last night. If I hadn't heard it with my own ears, I probably would have lived my entire life in the lies he spun. I suppressed my revulsion and forced a smile. "Very well, they haven't been bothering me. That's good." He leaned down and kissed my forehead. "I'm going to Riverwood today for a business trip. I might not be back tonight. Will you be okay by yourself?" I nodded. "Yes, I will. You focus on your work." He smiled, satisfied. As he turned, I saw his assistant, Ms. Chloe, waiting for him at the door. Ms. Chloe also offered a gentle smile when she saw me. "Good morning, Mrs. Grace." I looked at her. This was the woman who, along with my husband, had made a fool of me. Hatred surged within me, but I kept my expression neutral. "Good morning, Ms. Chloe." After they left, I immediately changed my clothes and went out. I didn't go to the hospital I had booked. I went to a different public hospital. I wanted to confirm once more. I wanted to know what I had truly endured over the past year. I made a specialist appointment in the obstetrics and gynecology department. I explained my situation to the doctor, of course. I concealed the sperm swapping. I just said I had undergone IVF and wanted to understand my physical condition. The doctor was very thorough and ordered a series of tests for me. As I lay on the ultrasound room bed, watching the two tiny figures on the screen, my tears still fell uncontrollably. The doctor operated the instrument, speaking softly. "Relax, the babies are very healthy." I closed my eyes. Healthy? Yes, they were very healthy, nourished by my flesh and blood, but they didn't belong to me. After the results came back, I returned to the doctor's office with a stack of medical reports. The doctor looked at the reports. Her brows furrowed. "Mrs. Grace, your body has suffered significant damage. Have you been using fertility drugs consistently this past year?" I nodded. To ensure success, the doctor gave me imported drugs, and the dosage was quite high. "Nonsense." The doctor sounded a little angry. "More expensive isn't always better. It needs to be suitable. You're so young, and your body is fundamentally healthy. There was no need for such potent drugs. This has caused devastating damage to your ovaries." As I listened to the doctor, my mind felt numb. Devastating damage? Yes. Wasn't Marcus hoping to destroy me? That way, he could cast me aside without any burden. I left the hospital, clutching my medical records. The sun shone on me, but there was no warmth whatsoever. Suddenly, I remembered the diary I kept during my pregnancy preparations. It recorded every injection, every medication, every checkup. It also recorded every loving word Marcus had said to me. I once believed it was a testament to our love. Now, it seemed it was merely my solo act, and proof of my foolishness. I returned home and locked myself in my room. I pulled out that diary, looking at the familiar handwriting. A flood of memories washed over me. I remembered one time, after a fertility injection, I suffered unbearable abdominal pain. Marcus held me, his eyes full of concern. He said, "Grace, maybe we shouldn't have children. I can't bear to see you suffer." I was completely touched at the time now. Looking back, he was just acting, playing the role of a deeply loving husband, so I would willingly walk into his trap. Was I not afraid of pain just because I was healthy? Of course I was afraid. Every injection, every egg retrieval, I was terrified. But I told myself, for him, I was willing. Now I finally understood. I was merely a tool to carry these children. My body, my uterus, my pain, they were all just resources he could exploit in his plan. I tore the diary, page by page, and threw it into the trash can, burying my humble, ridiculous love along with it. I looked out the window. The sky was gradually darkening. This home, which I once thought was my safe haven, now seemed nothing more than a gilded cage. I wouldn't stay here any longer, Marcus. This time, I'm the one who's leaving you, and everything you owe me, I will collect, every single debt. The next day, Marcus didn't return. Ms. Chloe, however, called. Her tone was as gentle and considerate as ever. Mrs. Grace, Mr. Marcus asked me to check on you. How are you feeling? Have the babies been bothering you? Listening to her false concern, my stomach churned with revulsion. I walked to the window, looking at the roses blooming in the garden. I feigned a hint of dependence and vulnerability in my voice. He's so busy, and I'm so bored alone at home. The babies are quite good, though. If you're not feeling well, Mrs. Grace, I could come over and keep you company. No need, just stay with him and take good care of him. I deliberately made my voice sound understanding. Ms. Chloe on the other end of the phone must have been quite pleased. After hanging up, the smile on my face instantly vanished. I slowly walked through the mansion. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, I had chosen myself. I once thought this was our home. Now I knew. It was just a cage he had built for me. I reached the door of the home office on the second floor. This was Marcus's forbidden territory. I rarely entered it. Today, I pushed the door open. The home office was tidy, carrying his usual scent of cool wood. I walked to his desk and on an impulse, touched the picture frame on it. Inside was our wedding photo. I was smiling, full of happiness. As my fingertip traced the edge of the frame, I felt a tiny bump. My heart stirred. I picked it up, examining it carefully. On the back of the frame, I found a pinhole camera. It was a surveillance device. My heart grew colder, inch by inch. So even in my own home, I was being monitored. How long had he been calculating against me, guarding against me? I placed the picture frame back, pretending I hadn't noticed anything. My gaze fell upon his laptop, which hadn't been fully closed. The screen was on, displaying a live stream interface. The screen showed sparkling sea and a luxurious yacht. Music and laughter clearly drifted from the yacht. It was Marcus and his group. Didn't he say he was going to Riverwood for a business trip? Turns out he was at a yacht party. I put on my headphones and turned the volume to the lowest setting. On screen, Marcus was holding a glass of red wine, chatting and laughing with his lawyer friends. Ms. Chloe stood beside him, her face radiant with smiles. A lawyer leaned closer and asked loudly, "Mr. Marcus, when will the wager be announced?" "Soon," Marcus said, swirling the red wine in his glass, a look of smug satisfaction on his face. "Once I get the DNA test results, it'll completely crush Ethan." Ms. Chloe giggled and said, "I'm betting 50 million that the first one born will be Mr. Marcus's and my child." "No," Marcus said, "the first one born will definitely be Mr. Marcus's and Chloe's child." That was Marcus's voice. He was correcting the lawyer's slip of the tongue, and incidentally, replaced Chloe's name with mine. "How ironic," another voice spoke, laced with unconcealed malice. "I can't wait to see Grace's expression when she finds out she carried someone else's children for 10 months. That'll be quite a show, ha 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 ha." A burst of laughter. I clenched my fists tightly, forcing myself to remain calm. A throbbing pain in my chest made me feel nauseous. I looked at their smug, ugly faces on the screen. In their eyes, I was just a joke. A massive, foolish joke. I closed the live stream page and shut the laptop. My movements were gentle. I made no sound. I walked out of the home office and softly closed the door. Everything was as it had been when I entered. Back in my room, I locked the door, leaning against the door, all strength drained from my body. I covered my mouth, tears streaming down my face. Not from sadness, but from hatred. An overwhelming hatred that threatened to consume me whole. I would not let them succeed. Absolutely not. I wiped away my tears, my gaze hardening. I began to think about how to fight back. The surveillance camera, the live stream, the wager. These would be the first grand gifts I would deliver to them. I walked into the nursery. Everything here had been carefully arranged by me. The pale blue walls, the cloud-shaped ceiling lamp, 2 small cribs, placed side by side. On the beds were tiny sweaters and tiny socks I had knitted myself. Every detail represented my effort and my overflowing hope. I had countless times imagined the babies lying here after they were born, one like me, one like him. Now, it seemed so ridiculous. I reached out. Gently caressing the railing of one of the cribs, a cold sensation traveled from my fingertips to my heart. The baby in my womb seemed to sense my emotions, kicking me hard. I looked down at my swollen abdomen. "I'm sorry," I murmured in my heart. "I'm sorry. I can't bring you into this world. Because your arrival itself is a mistake, a conspiracy." Slowly, I lowered my hand and let go of these children, who were never truly mine. I turned and walked out of this fairy tale room filled with lies, without a trace of lingering attachment. I returned to my bedroom and picked up my phone. On the screen was a screenshot of the yacht party's live stream. Marcus and his group, their faces beaming with smug smiles, they were betting on the children in my womb, using my pain as the footnote to their revelry. Then I would bet too. I bet that this time, all of you would lose, and you would lose completely, utterly devastated. From my jewelry box, I took out an inconspicuous voice recorder. It was one I used for interviews, very small and discreet. I clipped it inside my collar, checked it once, and confirmed it wouldn't be noticed. Then I dialed the intercom. Maria, the housekeeper, answered the phone. I used all my strength to let out a cry of agony. "Maria, my stomach hurts so much." My voice was tearful and trembling, sounding incredibly real, on the other end of the phone. Maria panicked. "Mrs. Grace, what's wrong?" "Don't scare me. I'm going into labor," I gasped, each word broken. Quick, call an ambulance." Yes, I'll call right away." "Please hold on." Maria hung up, and sounds of commotion erupted downstairs. I leaned against the headboard, calmly listening to the commotion outside. I knew Maria would immediately inform Marcus, and what would he do after receiving the call? Would he rush back, or would he continue his party? Or would he think this was just an act I was putting on? It didn't matter, no matter what he chose. He had fallen into the trap I had set. Soon, the sound of an ambulance grew closer. Medical personnel lifted me onto a stretcher. As we passed through the living room, I saw the wall clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Marcus's yacht wouldn't dock for another 5 hours. That was enough. Enough for me to deliver them a surprise they would never forget. The yacht slowly docked. Marcus and his legal team disembarked, each face flushed from drink and bearing a triumphant smile. The sea breeze blew, carrying a hint of coolness. Marcus adjusted his suit, feeling exceptionally pleased. By now, she must be frantic at the hospital. A lawyer chuckled. "Mr. Marcus, aren't you going to check on her? What if she actually gave birth? What's the rush?" Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "A 6-month premature baby isn't that easy to deliver. Let her panic for a while at the hospital. It'll teach her a lesson." Ms. Chloe thoughtfully offered him a bottle of water. "Marcus, will Mrs. Grace be in danger alone at the hospital?" "What danger could there be?" Marcus looked at her, his eyes reassuring. "I've already spoken with the hospital. They'll take good care of her. All we need to do now is wait for the child to be born and get the crucial evidence." They chatted and laughed as they walked towards the parking lot. Just then, a man in a delivery uniform approached quickly, carrying a styrofoam cooler. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Marcus?" Marcus paused, slightly puzzled. "I am. Hello, I have an urgent same-city delivery for you, requiring your personal signature." The delivery person handed him a form and the box. Marcus looked at the styrofoam cooler, emblazoned with a biopharmaceutical company's logo. His brow furrowed. He hadn't ordered anything like this. He signed, then took the box. It wasn't heavy, but it was chilling to the touch. "What's this? So secretive." A lawyer leaned over to see. Marcus tore open the seal and lifted the lid. A strong smell of blood, mixed with the pungent odor of formaldehyde, assailed them. Everyone instinctively recoiled a step. Inside the box, 2 transparent medical sample bags lay quietly on ice packs. Within the bags were 2 shapeless masses of flesh and blood. Labels were affixed, stating the collection date and cord blood samples. Marcus's hand trembled, and the box crashed to the ground. The 2 sample bags with blood samples rolled out, leaving 2 vivid bloodstains on the clean pavement. "Ah!" Ms. Chloe shrieked, her face ghostly pale. The other lawyers also gasped, their faces drained of color. Marcus stared intently at the items on the ground, his body trembling uncontrollably. "This is impossible," he muttered. "This is impossible." He suddenly looked up, his eyes bloodshot, glaring around like an enraged trapped beast. "Grace? Grace!" He pulled out his phone, frantically dialing my number. Only a cold automated message responded, "We're sorry, the number you have dialed is currently switched off." No, she wouldn't dare. How could she? He clutched a nearby lawyer's collar like a madman. Tell me, how could she do this? The lawyer was shaking uncontrollably, unable to utter a single word. Just then, another delivery vehicle stopped in front of them. Another delivery person stepped out, holding an envelope. "Excuse me, is Mr. Marcus here?" Everyone's gaze fixed on that envelope as if nailed there. Marcus released his grip, staggered over, and snatched the envelope. He tore open the seal with trembling hands. Out poured several sheets of paper and a small USB drive. The first paper was a DNA test result. It clearly stated that Sample A had a parental relationship with Mr. Marcus. Sample B had a parental relationship with Mr. Ethan. The evidence he desired was now laid before him in the cruelest, most gruesome manner. The second paper was a legal notice, accusing him of marital infidelity, using illegal medical means for business sabotage, and intentional harm. On the last paper was the note I had left. The handwriting was messy, as if infused with boundless hatred. "Marcus, we're even now." He clutched the papers, his hands shaking uncontrollably. His blank gaze fell upon the USB drive. He plugged it into the car's laptop and opened the only audio file within. The unbearable conversations from the yacht, their every word, echoed clearly. "As long as one of them is Ethan's, I can ruin him completely. She loves me to death. She believes everything I say. I can't wait to see Grace's expression when she finds out she carried someone else's children for 10 months. His own voice, his companion's laughter, every word, every sentence, felt like a red-hot iron, searing his heart. Bang! He slammed his fist onto the steering wheel. A tidal wave of immense regret and fear instantly engulfed him. He had lost her. He had lost the woman who loved him most. He had personally destroyed everything he once had. Marcus crumpled the DNA test results, his eyes bloodshot, and fell to his knees. Marcus's world crumbled. He knelt in the cold wind of the marina for a long time, like a statue devoid of a soul, until his legal team carefully helped him up. "Mr. Marcus, let's go back. It's windy here." Marcus didn't react, his eyes vacant. He returned to the familiar mansion. He pushed open the door, and inside was utter silence. No longer would that woman greet him with a smile, saying, "You're home." He stumbled inside and kicked over the coffee table. The sound of shattering glass was piercing and sharp. "Mr. Marcus." "Ms." Chloe tried to help him. Marcus spun around abruptly and slapped her across the face. "Get out." His eyes were bloodshot, like a completely out-of-control beast. He grabbed everything he could reach, wildly throwing them at the lawyers. "Get out. All of you, get out." He was like a madman now, lashing out at anyone within reach. The elite lawyers, usually impeccably dressed, now scurried away, covering their heads, utterly disheveled. "Didn't you all think it was so exciting?" He grabbed Daniel by the collar and punched him in the face. "Didn't you want to see her expression? Now do you see it? Huh?" No one dared to answer. The entire living room was in chaos. Just then, Marcus's phone began ringing frantically, not one call, but several pouring in simultaneously. Board members, investors, even his father. He answered one. And the angry roar of a board member came from the other end. "Marcus, what in the world have you done? Look at the company's stock price." Marcus hung up and immediately used another phone to check the financial news. A bold red headline, like a brand, seared his eyes. "Shocking scandal. Hayes Enterprises CEO allegedly used surrogacy for business sabotage. Audio evidence exposed." That audio recording from the USB drive had, by someone, been leaked to all media even faster. Hayes' stock had plummeted dramatically before the market even opened, evaporating billions. "It's over." A lawyer's legs gave out, and he collapsed onto the floor. They all knew this recording was not just a business scandal, but undeniable evidence of their complicity in a crime. Marcus's mind raced. He wasn't thinking about losing me, but how to salvage this defeat. He returned to the mansion, which was no longer a home but a sinking ship. In the living room, Ms. Chloe rushed forward anxiously. "Marcus, what happened? What are they saying online?" Marcus looked at her face filled with panic, and all his rage and the humiliation of his failure found an outlet in that moment. Slap. He slapped Ms. Chloe hard across the face, with such force that she stumbled backward and hit the wall. "Shut up." Marcus's eyes were sinister, devoid of any past affection. "If it weren't for your terrible idea, would things have turned out like this?" He blamed all the responsibility on her. Ms. Chloe clutched her face. looking at him in disbelief. Marcus. But you agreed to it too. I agreed? Marcus sneered, closing in on her step by step. I only hired you as my assistant, not to meddle in my family affairs. Who do you think you are? He now only wanted to distance himself from all this as quickly as possible. As of today, you're fired. He pulled out his phone and in front of Ms. Chloe, transferred a sum of money to her. This is your severance pay. Take the money and get out of my sight immediately. Don't ever appear before me again, or you'll face the consequences. Ms. Chloe's tears fell. She grabbed Marcus's arm, weeping and pleading. Marcus, you can't do this to me. I've done so much for you. Let go. Marcus disgustedly flung her arm away, as if discarding something dirty. My wife, Marcus's wife, has always been Grace and only Grace. Someone like you isn't worthy. He turned away mercilessly, leaving Ms. Chloe alone in the empty, cold living room, fallen from heaven to hell. He stormed into his home office and began making frantic calls. He contacted his public relations team, trying to suppress the news. He contacted lawyers to discuss how to handle the upcoming lawsuits. He contacted the board members to calm their emotions, but it was all in vain. When a wall falls, everyone pushes it down. Former partners now distanced themselves. Within the company, morale plummeted, and executives submitted their resignations one after another. The business empire he had built with his own hands was rapidly collapsing before his very eyes. He smashed everything he could in the home office, but still couldn't quell the furious rage and panic within him. He couldn't understand. How did Grace know all of this? He began calling frantically, using all his connections and resources. Find her. Finds whereabouts. Entry and exit records, spending records, everything. Find it all for me. But the results were all fruitless. I had vanished as if into thin air, leaving no trace. He remembered the hospital. Yes, the hospital. He immediately drove to the hospital where I had prematurely delivered. He used money and power to obtain all my medical records. He flipped through them page by page. At first, he couldn't understand the medical terms, but he was smart. He brought in the most authoritative obstetrician-gynecologist to interpret them for him. When the specialist pointed out several anomalies in the reports, Marcus's face instantly turned ashen. Are you saying? His voice trembled. This wasn't a premature birth, this was a drug-induced abortion. Based on the procedures and medication used, yes, the specialist confirmed. Moreover, this was a well-prepared, pre-scheduled surgery. The reports in Marcus's hands scattered to the floor. He finally understood. I hadn't terminated the pregnancy impulsively. I had planned everything in advance. When I smiled at him and said, "You focus on your work." When I gently and thoughtfully told him to take care of himself, I had already, in my heart, condemned him to death. I calmly, perfectly, deceived him, using the methods he taught me. I delivered him the most fatal blow. An ineffable fear arose from the depths of his heart. He had always thought I was a docile little rabbit, someone he could easily manipulate. Now he knew I was a wolf. A wolf, when pushed to the brink, would retaliate without hesitation. He began searching for me even more frantically. He froze all my bank accounts. But I hadn't taken a single card. He sent people to guard my parents' home, but I hadn't gone back there at all. He wandered around the city like a headless chicken, visiting every restaurant, every coffee shop we had ever been to, hoping to find even the slightest trace of me. During the first month after my disappearance, I lived in a small coastal town where no one knew me. The termination procedure had taken a severe toll on my body, and I needed time to recover. The moment I decided to retaliate, I knew I needed a powerful ally. Ethan was the only choice. He was not only Marcus's business arch-nemesis, but also another innocent victim in this conspiracy. I anonymously sent him the USB drive with the recording from the yacht, along with the DNA test results bearing his name. I didn't leave any contact information, but I knew, with his capabilities, if he wanted to, he would definitely find me. A week later, he arrived. He found me recuperating in a small recovery clinic. That afternoon, I had just finished an IV drip, and my caregiver was helping me into the garden to sunbathe. A tall figure blocked the light in front of me. I looked up and saw Ethan. He wore a well-tailored black suit, his expression serious, his eyes holding a scrutinizing gaze and a hint of subtle complexity. In his hand, he clutched the DNA test results I had sent him. Neither of us spoke first. Finally, he broke the silence. His voice was deep, carrying an inherent intensity. Are you all right? I looked at him, trying to smile, but couldn't ill survive. He paused, then pulled a chair beside me and sat down. Marcus is desperately looking for you. I know. What are you planning to do next? He asked. I met his gaze. Haven't you already guessed? We were the same kind of people. Intelligent and never forgetting a wrong. Ethan looked at my pale face and weakened state, the scrutiny in his eyes slowly fading. He didn't say anything more. Simply stood up. Focus on your recovery. I'll take care of the rest. From that day on, he provided me with a completely safe and private residence. He hired the best nutritionist and caregiver. He would visit me regularly, and our conversations always revolved around how to bring down Marcus. Together, we gathered evidence, hired a top-tier legal team, and step by step, set an intricate trap for Marcus. Over those 6 months, I watched my physical and mental health improve day by day, and he too gradually transformed from a cold business ally into a trusted friend. He would quietly stay by my side when I had nightmares. He would also offer me a glass of warm water when my emotions overwhelmed me. We never mentioned the unborn child, nor did we discuss our feelings. But we both implicitly understood that something was subtly shifting between us. 6 months later, we appeared in the courtroom together. I saw Marcus again. He was gaunt and barely recognizable, sitting in the defendant's stand, his gaze fixed on me from the moment I entered. As the trial began, my lawyer presented irrefutable evidence. When it was Marcus's turn for his final statement, his lawyer whispered a few words in his ear. I saw Marcus's eyes flicker, and then a deliberately theatrical display of remorse and pain surfaced on his face. He stood up, his eyes red-rimmed, looking at me, his voice hoarse. Grace, I know I was wrong. For the past 6 months, I've been searching for you every day. I regret it. I truly regret it, he roared, every word brimming with deep affection. Please, just one more chance. I love you, Grace. I've realized I can't live without you. I knew he was putting on an act. He was performing for the judge. He hoped to win my forgiveness with this belated display of affection, thereby securing a reduced sentence. It was truly laughable. Even until the very last moment, all he thought about was how to get off and protect himself. I calmly stood up, and all eyes in the courtroom turned to me. I first bowed to the presiding judge, then turned to Marcus. Marcus, I called him by his full name, my voice low but clear. Your apology means nothing to me. I am standing here today not to watch your performance, but to claim the justice that is rightfully mine. I paused, then turned slightly and deliberately took Ethan's hand. I raised our joined hands. On my ring finger, a simple diamond ring sparkled, and incidentally, allow me to introduce you. This is Ethan, my fiancé. Marcus froze in place, as if struck by lightning. He stared intensely at the ring on my hand, and the meticulously crafted mask of remorse on his face shattered inch by inch. In its place emerged shock, resentment, and bitter malice. Ethan stepped forward, shielding me, his voice calm and steady. Mr. Marcus, the moment you treated Grace as a mere tool, you lost her forever. From now on, I will love her well in your stead. Marcus seemed drained of all strength, slumping back in his chair. He looked at me, his lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. I gave him one last look, my gaze cold. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. With that, I walked out of the courtroom arm in arm with Ethan, without looking back. Behind us, the crisp sound of the gavel falling echoed. Everything was over. Marcus was finally sentenced. Illegal genetic manipulation, business fraud, and intentional bodily harm, convicted on multiple counts. 10 years, his company's stock price plummeted. His once formidable business empire crumbled instantly. I didn't go on the day of the sentencing. Ethan went. When he returned, he told me, after hearing the verdict. Marcus showed no anger, nor any resentment. He merely looked at the public gallery, as if searching for something. Finally, as the bailiffs led him away, he seemed disoriented, like a puppet, drained of its soul. I listened, feeling completely unmoved. To me, he was now an irrelevant person. My life had already turned a new page. Ethan and I held our wedding on a day when spring was in full bloom. We didn't invite too many people, just our closest family and friends. The sun was bright, the breeze gentle. I walked down the aisle in my pristine white wedding gown, arm in arm with my father. Step by step, towards the man waiting at the end, Ethan looked at me, his eyes sparkling. He said, "Grace, you are so beautiful today." He said he couldn't wait to make me his wife. He said, "Every day from now on, I will make you happy." When we exchanged rings, he held my hand tightly. He said, "I love you. I looked at him, smiling, and said, "I love you too." We kissed amidst the blessings of our loved ones. In that moment, I felt as though I had been truly reborn. After the wedding, I chose not to be a complacent socialite wife. I used the substantial settlement Marcus paid me to establish a foundation, an advocacy group dedicated to providing legal aid and psychological counseling to women whose physical and legal rights had been violated in their marriages. I anonymously shared my own story. I wanted to tell all women who had similar experiences to mine, we are not weak. We have the right to protect our bodies, and the right to defend our dignity. When harm comes, we have the ability and the wisdom to fight back. The Foundation's work was demanding, but deeply fulfilling. Ethan was incredibly supportive. He would help connect me with resources and offer professional advice, and when I was tired, he would hold me and say, "Rest a little." One time, we saw news about Marcus on TV. It was a social news segment, reporting on inmates in the penitentiary performing labor as part of their sentence. The camera quickly panned past. I saw him, wearing a prison uniform, with a buzz cut, his face gaunt. He was bent over, diligently operating a sewing machine. Ethan immediately turned off the TV. He looked at me anxiously. "Don't watch." I smiled at him. "It's all right. It's all in the past now." Yes, it was all in the past. I once asked Ethan, "Marcus used my body. And he used you too. Don't you hate him?" Ethan was peeling an apple for me at the time, hearing my question. He looked up and gazed at me intently. "I thank him." "Why?" I asked, puzzled. "Because he foolishly let go of your hand. I had the chance to hold on to you." My eyes immediately welled up. I later heard Marcus had a violent outburst in prison once. He screamed at the prison guards, "Grace, how dare you live so well? How dare you use my body? How dare you trample on my feelings? How dare you ruin my life?" He roared it again and again. In the end, he could only weakly repeat, I'm sorry," but I could no longer hear any of it. I no longer cared what became of him. Someone once asked me, "What will you do if Marcus is released from prison one day?" I thought for a moment and said, "Why don't you ask him how he will face a world he no longer recognizes once he gets out?" My world held a loving partner, a career, sunshine, and hope. His world, however, was left with only prison walls and repentance. He had completely vanished from my life.